great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us once again here on The Leading Edge. I'm your host, Jeff Smith. Coming up, after a visit from some friends overseas, we're diving into Toledo's continued Sister Cities program. We'll touch on a family favorite that is getting underway this week. But first, we have been living through what has been an unbelievable last few weeks with the political world on a bit of a roller coaster, a commitment to another 4 years, then an assassination attempt, a convention, a stepping aside, the passing of the torch, the questions circling on what just happened, how it happened, why it happened, on so many fronts, and of course, a teaching moment that exists as well. I wanted to bring in University of Toledo professor in political science and public administrations, Dr. Sam Nelson. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. A friend of WTOL again and again, and especially over the last couple of weeks. Let's kind of dissect a little bit, Dr. Nelson. Is there another time in history you can remember on the political spectrum a cycle like what we have seen played out in the last month?
It's been a lot all in 1 month.
Yeah.
I think, there was the 2016 campaign. We had the Access Hollywood tape, then the hacked emails from the Democratic National Committee the next day, and then the Comey letter. It was bang, 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 and that was October, right before the election. But even this is much more, I think, than that.
I was sitting at home, I was thinking to myself, going back in time, and you can go back through, you can go back to 2020 and the hanging chads, and more recent history. My goodness, we say more recent history, that's been over 20 years ago at this point. But I just wonder, there have been times of tumult in Washington before, and certainly times of uncertainty. But as you get a little closer to September and August and your classes coming into frame, is there a teaching moment there, and how do you kind of fashion this into that?
Well, I really have missed my students this last couple of weeks. I wish we were in class. I would love to hear from them. I'm really looking forward to hearing what they have to say about what's been going on. But yeah, we build in because current events, we're trying to study how politics works, and current events are the examples that we use, that we can feed into. Here are the patterns, here are the things that we've never seen before and that we can't really predict. Here are the questions that we want to ask. Here are the things we'd like to know so we can try to understand what's happening.
I always try to reference things to sports, and I think in terms of what we have seen play out, not only in the media, but things we're reporting, but you think of a tennis match. That was a good shot. Oh, that was a nice return serve. It seems like it's going back and forth and back and forth. You see that as well?
Well, certainly we saw this. The last couple of weeks were probably the best weeks Donald Trump could have imagined for his campaign. You wouldn't want an assassination attempt.
No, of course. And I think the viewers know that's not what you mean.
But it's an opportunity for his party to rally around him. And then your convention is always the high point in your campaign. You always come out of that convention, everybody is happy, enthusiastic, excited about the campaign. And here, Biden withdrew 2 days after the convention ended. It kind of stomped on the convention bounce that you would get.
Because it changed the news cycle?
Oh, yeah, it changed the news cycle. We're talking about Joe Biden withdrawing, and then we're talking about Kamala Harris lining up delegates, lining up the nomination for Democrats. And so that's what everybody's been really focused on.
How long do bumps last? How long should they last?
So a convention bump usually evaporates in a couple of weeks, usually until the next big news event or kind of hook for the campaign. And now, before the events of just the last couple of weeks, we saw a really stable, kind of static race. Something would happen, it would move things a point one way or the other, and it would just kind of settle back into the status quo. What's going to be interesting to watch is, end of August, beginning of September, do we settle back into the status quo from May and June? Or are we in a new status quo, a very different kind of race?
But I guess my question, too, in talking about this bump is you talk about the Republican National Convention. You talk about President Biden stepping aside. You talk about Kamala Harris being, I don't want to say she has been, I think the word coronation has been used, but she's been tabbed as the heir apparent, right? Those bumps that exist. And then, of course, the DNC in just a couple of weeks. Do you expect another bump there?
I would expect it after the convention. You get your convention bounce, and it's probably more than Joe Biden would have gotten because he's a known quantity. Everybody had formed an opinion about him. For a lot of people, Kamala Harris is a new face. She's been vice president, but the vice president's usually pretty invisible. That convention is going to roll her out, introduce her to the country, really give her an opportunity to lay down the message for the campaign, for people to get to know her, her family, whoever she picks for vice president, all of that, and it generates a lot of enthusiasm.
I know they'll be asking this, and we precede a lot of the national shows that will come on Sunday, but do you think this is a done deal?
I do. It certainly looks like she's got most of the delegates pledged to her. Nobody has put themselves forward as another candidate, and if that doesn't happen by the end of the weekend, then there won't be a challenger.
And we should not expect the DNC, somebody to raise their hand and throw their hat in the ring.
No, it'll be too late then.
Yeah.
The rules that they've established make it clear that there's a deadline to get signatures from delegates to be in the mix.
Talk a little bit as far as the process that has played out. And there's been a lot of talk this week, and I don't know if history or your study would give you a better answer as to how this happened, because there's been a lot of talk about you had 14 million voters who said they wanted Joe Biden as the candidate going forward, yet none of those 14 million had a voice in this. Do you subscribe to that? What is your take on it?
I think the question of democratic legitimacy around this is a tough one. The voters, the 14 million voters, did vote for Kamala Harris as his backup, right? If you want to use a sports metaphor, she's the second string. So they were comfortable with that. The 81 million people who voted for that ticket in 2020 were comfortable with her as the backup. So I think that gives her some legitimacy. I think the huge outpouring of donations from rank and file voters, regular people that came in immediately, pretty good sign that the rank and file of the party, Democratic voters are behind her, and polling as well.
Was that money already there, you think? I mean, that was just a carryover from Biden, because it was a lot and it was fast.
There's two different pots. I think the money from the big donors, that was kind of sitting there, they were holding it. But that money that came in on Act Blue from people like my mom and other people, that I think is new money. That's people who are newly enthused. There were a lot of new donors who had not donated in this cycle.
I remember in 1981 sitting at the babysitter's house. ABC News on President Reagan was coming out of the Washington Hotel. John Hinckley took the shots. We haven't seen anything play out like that. How do you handle this going into the fall, talking with students and the impact? We've talked about social media playing things over and over and over again, the violence that they see and how that affects mental health. But I see this as a moment as politics affecting mental health as well.
Yeah, I mean, politics can be very challenging. People are very invested in their parties and in candidates that they support kind of across the board, including third-party candidates. And it does affect people's lives, their everyday lives, in a lot of ways. We talked in the spring about the potential for political violence in this campaign. It's always been kind of lurking in the background. But I think we didn't have a concrete example. But it is difficult to talk about, and you want to handle it kind of carefully.
Did you think it would get to that point? I mean, when you talked about it in the spring, obviously, you don't think it's ever going to reach that level,
I didn't think not an assassination attempt on one of the candidates, but somebody getting beat up at a rally or out in front of their house putting a sign up, that kind of thing wouldn't have surprised me. Something like this, and of course, this attempt now doesn't look like it was particularly politically motivated, from what we know. Maybe that'll change, but the atmosphere makes violence more likely when everybody's on tenterhooks. And
why do you say it wasn't politically motivated, even though he was searching out things on both campaigns?
Well, I think he was looking for, because he was searching both campaigns, I don't think it was motivated against the Republicans or against the Democrats. I think it was an opportunity where a bunch of people were collected in one place.
For Ohio voters going forward, what do you think are the policies that are going to stand out in November?
Well, certainly lots of people are concerned about immigration and talking about immigration, but a lot of people are talking about health care, and of course abortion rights is going to be huge. And I think with Harris becoming the candidate, that's going to kind of get elevated in a way that Biden wouldn't have brought it forward.
And obviously seeing what Ohio has voted on, especially on state mandates, that could play into factor as well.
Right.
Well, Doctor, I appreciate the time, the insight as always, and obviously if we have another couple of weeks like we've had this last month, it'll definitely be interesting. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back here on Leading Edge. Toledo continued its mission this week to reach out to communities around the globe and form partnerships. Those partnerships are meant to bolster culture, the arts, business, even communication. However, we wanted to know this week, what are the fruits of these efforts, this labor, if you will? We've got Paul Zito joining us from the Regional Growth Partnership of Northwest Ohio, a friend of the program. He's been here before, but I thought you were the perfect person to come on and kind of, I guess, Monday morning quarterback, if you will, what we saw this past Monday morning into the afternoon and so on. So we had Nanchang, China here, a contingent from that country, and they're a place of 5 million people. I wondered how they get chosen, how they decide 300,000, 200,000, whatever it is these days of Toledo to be a partner, to have this relationship. Paul, how does it work that way?
Much of it depends on the people involved on both sides of the border. The people here, in the case of Nanchang, some people from the University of Toledo knew some people in Nanchang and thought the cities had a number of things in common in terms of their industry, in terms of their rank in size. Nanchang, even though it's got a metro population of 5, 6, 7 million, is a medium-sized city, as is Toledo. So it makes sense. And the other sister city relationships, I've been very active with at least 8 out of the 13 sister cities. And it's all because someone here had a friend, knew a business contact, had a relationship through university experience, et cetera. I mean, Sister Cities is very much a volunteer organization.
What does it do for us? Let's put the onus on we.
Well, for my work to promote Toledo and Northwest Ohio as a location for foreign investment, it raises the profile of Toledo and the region around the world. Good example, Monday we had the group from Nanchang visit here. Mayor Kapsakavich, members of city council met with him. I did a presentation on business in the area.
We see some of that here.
The following day, I had a group of 10 site selection consultants from 10 different countries, mostly Europe, but also India and China. And I said, oh yeah, yesterday I was with the Nanchang Sister City delegation, and the woman from China said, oh, that's wonderful. She's not from Nanchang, but it means that we as a business community know what we're doing with China, with Europe, with Latin America, with other places around the world.
What do you say, and you and I talked about this a little bit off camera, but I've been around here a long time, and the relationship with China, I used the word flawed. I said to you, is that a fair assessment of the past and what we have seen? Because we've talked about the business dealings across the river, trying to build up Toledo in that sense. How do you move forward from that? How do you continue to go at that well?
There's a misperception that China is easy to, make money in and do business in, and it's always been difficult. I think back to 30 years ago when I was doing international sales. It took me 2 years to get to the right point where I could actually make a deal, collect the money, service the sale. Likewise with foreign investment from China. I came here 12 and a half years ago, right after the deals for the docks, the Marina District, and the Park Inn Hotel. And at that point, there was a lot of money coming in from China into the USA. And I knew at that point that it was somewhat premature. Foreign investment, it's necessary for a company from China, from Europe, from anywhere to have a market in the U.S. Why would you invest money unless you see a return on that investment?
In our last 30 seconds, do we have to reciprocate? Do we have to be there in order to make these kind of deals work?
It would be good. Everyone understands in the post-COVID world that international travel is a bit more difficult than it has been. And people understand the difficulties in relationship between the U.S. and China, and that it takes some thought and planning. It would be good to reciprocate. And from what I learned on Monday with the group from Nanchang and the Consul General of China in New York, I think it would be beneficial.
And you will probably be on that trip. This man has traveled, what was the number?
55 out of the last 120 nights.
He's been traveling the
5 countries, 3 continents.
My goodness, Paul, it's good to see you as always, sir. Thank you so much. We'll be back right after this. Wood County Fair underway. So glad to have Paul Perry joining us to talk a little bit about the planning that goes into this family fun event each and every year. Paul, how do you guys keep it fresh? Because I know there are some new things we can talk about this year. And obviously, Lucas, Fulton, Putnam, you can go down the line as far as the county fairs are concerned and the competition that exists to not only bring in vendors and attractions, but how does Wood County do it so well each year?
It's a continuous process. Every single year, we send a number of representatives down to the Ohio Fair Managers Convention in Columbus in January every year, where they have all the latest, greatest acts, all the new side entertainment, everything, So we're always constantly looking. And quite honestly, we work well with all the other fairs to say, hey, what are you guys doing? What's working well for you? What's the people like, and another point is we bounce a lot of things off of our concession vendors and those who travel the circuit going to all the fairs saying, what does the people want? We ask the community, and, it's just a never stop process to get that all underway and get things put together.
What have been some of the must-haves year after year you can't go without as far as the Wood County Fair is concerned? And then leading into this season, what did you come up with?
Well, our must-haves every year are demolition derbies. We like to say that people in Wood County like to see things crash and make a lot of noise. So we do 2 different demolition derbies. On Friday night of the fair, we do our combines, minivans, and lawnmowers. And then we finish off our fair on Sunday night with our cars and pickup trucks. And we will pack the grandstands for each of those events. Another big popular thing every year is our concert. This year we have a group called Roots and Boots coming to the concert. Sammy Kershaw, Colin Ray, and Aaron Tipton coming in. 3 great artists from some time, and they're all 3 going to be on one stage together at the same time, playing 90 minutes of their greatest hits. And then, we try to fill in the rest of the week. We got 2 nights of harness racing this year. We have 1 night of micro wrestling. So we got an organization out of Tennessee that's coming in to do micro wrestling in front of the grandstands. We got a cheerleading competition in front of the grandstands. So just a lot of real fun, action-packed things here at the fair this year.
Every year, and I think I said this to you when we were off camera, and I said, I know family members, personal family members who make it a must to go down to BG each and every year. You see this as kind of a family event and an attraction that it's kind of a must stop no matter how many nights you're making it year after year?
Yeah, we like to say it's more like a family reunion every year. May not necessarily be blood family, but, quite honestly, there's a lot of people I see every year at the fair that I don't necessarily see very often and outside of the fair. And just the folks to be able to walk around the fair and enjoy a lot of the free entertainment that we have going on the grounds. This year, we stepped that up quite a bit. We have things going on every day in our free tent right outside the administration building here. For an example, on Monday of the fair, we're having a Christmas in July celebration. I hear Santa Claus might be coming out to visit us in the fair. So, yeah, there's just a lot of good, fun family activity things going on.
One thing that grabbed my attention, I was reading the Sentinel Tribune, and I saw an article talking about something you might see at SeaWorld or somewhere down in Florida. Talk a little bit about what you're bringing to folks here in Northwest Ohio, Paul.
Yeah, so on Wednesday of our fair, we'll have a free event going on. It's called a shark encounter. There's a company that brings in a whole tank full of sharks. The individuals get in and swim with them and learn about them. And they're also bringing a bunch of stingrays too that they do special things with. I'm pretty excited to go down and watch that and see what that's all about. I personally haven't seen it before, so I'm not so sure that I would want to go swim around with a shark, especially being after the fair and eating corn dogs and everything else and having that on my fingers. I don't know if I want to get inside a shark tank, but no, it's some really cool things. And we're going to have a petting zoo back there starting on Wednesday. A lot of our side entertainment does start on Wednesday of the fair, Wednesday to Sunday. So, it really ramps up there midweek.
Last minute, how do you continue to try to keep it affordable?
We try to get a lot of sponsorships. This year we've done really well reeling in the community and getting the community rallying around us. We got huge community support from Wood County, from corporations and just individuals in general that want sponsor things. A lot of our on-site food vendors and stuff will throw some sponsorship money at it. We try to keep things as affordable as we possibly can. Some things are a struggle, but with the continued support of the community that we have here in Wood County is great. I mean, they just, everybody loves the fair. Everybody wants to be a part of the fair. We got a saying here on the fair board: if you need help, just ask. Somebody out there is more than willing to step in and give you a hand at any time. So, that's simply what we do. We're just building bridges and keep thriving on with our traditions and keeping the community involved.
Great job, Paul. We appreciate it. Wood County Fair runs through Sunday, August 4th. And as he said, it all culminates with the thing that Wood County loves the best, the Demolition Derby. Stay right there. Leading Edge continues right after this. We always appreciate our partnerships each and every week. A big thank you to Dr. Sam Nelson from the University of Toledo Political Science Department, as well as Paul Zito joining us from Regional Growth Partnership of Northwest Ohio, and Paul Perry from the Wood County Agricultural Society. I'm Jeff Smith. We always appreciate you spending some time with us. As always, if you missed any part of our discussion, you can go to our WTOL 11 YouTube page. And a reminder, wherever you find your podcasts, look for the Leading Edge podcast. It's there, and it is something you can go to again and again. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for joining us. If you have any ideas for our show, you can always email me, jeffsmith@WTOL.com. We'll see you next time.